Hey everybody, welcome to episode 27 of the Open Play Podcast. I am here with our usual band of cohorts, minus a couple, and one extra additional one tonight. Let's go around the table and say hi to everybody. Alex?
How's it going, everybody? Hope you have been having a good couple of weeks since our last recording.
Mason?
Howdy, howdy. What's up, everybody? My fellow World Eaters enthusiasts out there.
And our special guest host, Jordan from Warpfire Minis.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
We figured since we're going to be talking about a lot of Age of Sigmar, it'd be a good time to bring Jordan in so he can tell us how we're all wrong and he would be correct. Figured that's a good way to do it. First up, though, I want to talk about our usual hobbying. Alex, you been getting into anything lately? I know you've been busy the last few weeks.
Not a ton. I have been working on my Seraphon army, getting them all assembled and ready to go. Now the weather's looking a bit nicer. I'm hoping to break out the airbrush and start, batch base coating all of them outside. Because I usually like to do it outside just because I don't have a really big space inside to set up a, good little clean area for it. But hopefully now that the weather's getting nice and warm, I'll break all those out and get all of my beginner Skaven army at least base colored. What about you, Mason? What have you gotten?
So I have not actually been doing very much painting since the RO. I've been kind of working a lot. Unfortunately, work's been kind of kicking me in the teeth lately. But I am working on getting some Berserkers painted up just in case I decide to switch out some 8-bound for some Berserkers, just because it seems like battle line troops might be emphasized a little bit in the new mission pack that we'll talk about a little bit later this episode. Michael, what have you been doing hobby-wise?
Like you, not a ton since the RO. I have a list worked out that I need to finish doing some painting on, but I recently got bronchitis and that kicked me in the teeth, much like you said, for about a week, so I lost a good week and change of time. So honestly, not too much, but I have everything built. I just need to slap some paint and some enamels on minis and base them and call it a day, because much like you said, the tournament pack we'll talk about later, more battle line focused. I need to get all those Berserkers out on the table, some more Jackals. And Jordan, what you got going on lately? You doing anything over Sylvaneth or?
For hobby kind of stuff, we had our Age of Sigmar GT was last weekend. So the only thing I've been working on is just getting tables ready, painting up terrain. We needed a bunch of wildwoods. To have a good table, you need to have a couple wildwoods on each table. So painting up little trees and little flat terrain pieces to put them on. That's been keeping me busy. But we're all good now. We're in the clear, ready for some new stuff.
How'd the GT end up?
Oh, it was awesome, man. We had, I think, 36 people were registered. It ended up being on Mother's Day, so we had some drops day of. But we had the Seasonal War guys. They got a big YouTube channel. They came down from Canada for it. And Jordan Duncan from there, he ended up taking it down. But he had already won a gold ticket, so one of our locals had got second place. Gold ticket fell to him, and he was psyched out of his mind.
That's really cool. So other than that, we're going to talk a little bit about the Richmond Open. Mason went, I went, and it was a good time. It was my first GT for 40K, and I played Necrons 2 more times than I ever want to again. It was a wonderful time. Played a very mimi list. I played 2 Lords of Skulls, and then just Angron, and then whatever I could fit points into. Like 1,400 points in my army were 3 models. So it was a good time. One game, gave a win for the second one, but overall, I enjoyed it. What about your thoughts, Mason?
Well, I went a respectable 4-2 at the Richmond Open, which I'm pretty proud of. I definitely was hoping for 5-1. One get match, I made a small misplay. I mooned my Lord of Skulls. It got overwatched to death. It was on kind of a low wound count. I probably could have left it stationary for that turn. The other one, I literally lost the game because I shot a Rhino with my Lord of Skulls and it exploded and killed my last Exalted 8-bound on an objective. So, if you're going to going out with an explosion is pretty good. So that was a pretty good game. I have no complaints about that. I only played Necrons once. I did successfully beat the Necron Menace, but it was they made me sweat for it because they only had 12 wraiths and it still took forever to chew through all those bodies. It was not a great time, but fortunately, Angron and Lord of Makadas epic challenging out the Technomancer really helps cut out some of the toughness on there. But another exciting thing, even though he's not there to announce it himself, if you look at the Warguide live stream, you could actually watch our boy Will playing round 1 with his great hunt, watching him successfully redraw missions turn 1. I was like, dude, come on. What do you like? There's so many dead draws turn 1. Just accept the 0 on secondaries. But it was pretty exciting to see a member of Gemhammer up there on turn 1 playing. It was nice to see there was a lot of really good players at that event. So I had a great time there.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. Preston, who's not here, did leave some notes for us. So he had fun at the RA. He thought it was great. He thought away games is pretty much always well organized. Terrain's great. Venue is great. Food was actually decent, other than, having to go to Burger King as one of the only places near the hotel. That was a little bit of a pain. The free swag bag was nice. He thought the mission packs were kind of not great, and also that different tables had different terrain layouts, but his highlight was playing TJ Lanigan at a 70-76 loss. Thought it was a great learning experience, and overall, he seemed to have a good time.
Yeah, I also ate Burger King more that weekend than I want to for another year, but it was definitely really cool to that Press was able to hold him that close, and I think that it shows that, Preston is definitely a really good player, although now he's going to play damn dirty Tau pretty soon, which makes me a little bit disappointed to play him because Tau are really cracked right now.
Yeah, and he was playing Sisters versus TJ Lanigan's Thousand Suns, right?
Yes, TJ Lanigan is the Thousand Sun Menace. I think he's been playing those for like most of the edition at this point now, ever since GSC got the 1-2-3 punch.
Like we said, Tau are not a real army, so it's fine. Although the one Mad Lad went 4-2 with Kroot.
Yeah, that was last weekend, right? Yeah. I don't know how, because there's no real stratagems in there that affect anything good in the army, because Kroot are just not good. But he's either a really good player or there's something that I'm not seeing in that detachment.
It was a mixed list. It was Kroot, and there's some Crisis suits in there and other stuff like that. So it wasn't like a pure Kroot list, but it was a Kroot detachment.
Well, yeah, I mean, you take a couple stealth suits to give yourself reroll ones to hit, and then you just take the good data sheets, and the Kroot just kind of stand around holding objectives and swarming you with bodies. It's not bad.
And from the Age of Sigmar side, Jordan, your experiences at GTs, or even running your GT, any takes from that, as far as your train layout and all that kind of stuff goes? Because I know it's a little bit looser with at least Age of Sigmar 3rd edition for terrain layouts.
For terrain kind of stuff, it's a little bit tricky, where not everywhere is going to have the same quality, or especially the same sizes of the pieces. But like versus 40k, our terrain is a lot less impactful. You could play a 40k game, and like if you have bad terrain, the outcome of the game is going to be hugely different. Where for us, it's kind of more of a mild inconvenience. GW normally does a really good job with their terrain layouts. So for our tournaments, we try to just kind of copy them, what they're doing. And that's where we get those like 2 Wildwoods, 2 cover terrain pieces, a couple impassable, and just try and lay out a pretty even board on both sides. That way both players have a fair shot at it.
Yeah, that was the one big thing about playing Age of Sigmar is I was playing Slaves of Darkness, and a lot of the deployment zones just are right up against each other. So you're playing melee, I'm playing melee, so let's be as close as possible as we can to each other, and let's hit each other right head on.
Yeah, you got to deploy 9 inches away from each other, so there's always that 18-inch gap between. Except one mission, there's an exception to that. But typically, turn 1, like you're moving forward, maybe you can hit a long bomb charge, and then turn 2, it's game on.
I mean, we play World Eater, so we're kind of used to that.
Long bomb charges. No, because I'm going to scout forward and I'm going to, run and charge in Age of Sigmar, right?
Yeah, that gives you like the advance and charge, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to do something a little bit different than we've done previously. Since we do have Jordan joining us for this episode, we want to kind of do a little roundtable type interview with him, just to talk about his history, thoughts on the game, 4.0, and just everything up and coming. So Jordan, first off, for the listeners who might not know who you are or about your store or the community, can you tell us a little bit about that?
All right, well, yeah, I'm Jordan Rainey with Warpfire Minis, and we're a local game store down here in Central Florida. And our shtick is that we have the largest Warhammer inventory out there. Our goal as a store is we want to stock the entire line. So if you come in, we want to have every Age of Sigmar product, every 40k product, 30k, Necromunda, the whole 9 yards. We have everything on the shelves just ready to go. That helps us out on the online side, where if you order from us, we're going to ship it out to you the next day. There's no waiting for GW to send it to us and special ordering this or that. Just you order it, we're shipping it out the next business day. You're going to get it fast. As far as community side, like we have a healthy Age of Sigmar community. That's my personal favorite game. So I'm playing like 5 games of Age of Sigmar every week, pretty deep in the game. But we also have a healthy 40k and kill team community. Pretty big kill team community, I think, overall. Pretty neat just seeing everything in action.
Very cool. Very cool. I know as a personal shopper of your site, I do appreciate the quick turnaround on shipping, and pre-ordering Friday night is always a nice thing.
Yeah, we try to do the Friday nights. The whole idea behind that was a lot of times we get capped. Like GW will say, okay, you're only going to get 5 of these brand new boxes. So we put them up Friday night or Saturday, 12 a.m. technically, give you a shot at them. And that way, if you do miss them with us, when GW puts them up on their site, you still have that second crack at getting them. In an ideal world, they don't cap us. Let us get as many as we want, and then everybody gets good deals at midnight.
And this kind of goes along with that, but as far as a reseller and ordering from GW Direct, what's the largest hurdle you have with them other than just, not getting enough kits?
That's probably the biggest one, but like the other challenges is for our traditional orders, like like I make a big spreadsheet out of that I send into them, and then I'd say on average we maybe get 50% of what we ordered, and it is just situations where they don't have the stock. And so when I'm doing our orders, anything I'm out of stock on, like I go through and add every single product every week and then shoot it over to them. Then I have to wait for them to actually ship it out to see what's actually coming in on the order. And so trying to stock everything, it's a big challenge. And then when you order it anyways and you only get half of it, it makes it even more of a challenge. But we just keep fighting the fight, do what we can do.
Yeah, I remember I ordered some Judgment of Corn, the endless spells for the Blades of Corn from our local hobby shop. Just on a whim. I'm like, if you can get it in, go ahead and get it in. And then I had kind of forgot about it, and it showed up at the store. I got a call like 8 months later, like, hey, we got this order in for you. I was like, oh. So I definitely could understand from a retailer perspective, that would be a very painful process to try to like get orders in on time.
Yeah, and then that is a definite big hurdle, and that's why like people will call me sometimes. They'll say, "Hey, I see you're out of stock on this. Can you order it in for me?" And I just tell them no. I've already ordered it. However many you want, we have them on the way. But the reality is that if I ordered, I might get it in a week, or it might be 6 months, it might be a year, or I just might not ever get it. There's nothing that's concrete. So I don't want to take anybody's money until I have the product in my hand ready to send to them. If you buy it from me, you deserve to get it right away.
And that's appreciated. I've been on the other side where, well, for instance, the Gnome Team thing you had happen a couple weeks back,
yeah,
where you just didn't get them for one reason. I was one of those people that you sent a refund to with the coupon code, by the way, which I appreciate. I mean, it's the kind of thing that happens, but it's out of your control, so you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, they're usually pretty good. There are sometimes bad things that happen where we didn't get an order, or like UPS lost a box, stuff like that. And if GW has the product on hand, they're good about just sending it to us right away. But sometimes it happens, like they're not big bad evil guys out screwing us all the time by any means. Like when things happen, they're normally pretty good about it if they have the product. And then on our end, like if something bad happens, we're going to bend over backwards, try and make it right. And then on those Gnome teams, I think like the next week, kind of middle of the week, we got the Gnome boxes in anyways, made a big post about it so everybody knew, hey, we've got these if you guys want them now.
And so just, going back to about the store, so what made you want to actually start the game store? Or are you looking to fill a gap that wasn't, available in your area, or are you just looking for a better experience?
So locally, I'm from Ocala. It's a little town in Florida, and we're a pretty small town, and we actually have an excellent selection of game stores already. So I wasn't trying to fill in necessarily a gap in our local scene. For me, it was I had a different business going on. I used to have a semi-truck junkyard and then a shipping container business. And through like politics and like COVID and lots of things happening, just those businesses just failed. And so I had to do something. And I kind of just started slinging mud at different things that I like. So like I like Warhammer, so like I got an account. I had a brick and mortar location already, so got an account set up with that. I had some like custom made ping pong tables made in China. I'm a big ping pong player. I love playing ping pong. Just we started doing a bunch of different things and then seeing what worked out. And in that spray of things, it ended up being that shipping containers was what worked out for us. And then Warhammer is just something I loved doing. So we very, very, very slowly grew that up. Like when we first started out, like maybe I'm ordering $100 a month worth of stuff for like me and my buddies. And then over time, we just kept growing and growing and growing till we are where we are now.
And in the past, has it been half a year? Didn't you just change locations not too terribly long ago to a larger space?
Yeah, in early mid-January of this year, we'd been working on a new shop space for about a year. And so we finally got to move into the new spot. So it's a lot bigger. We got everything spread out nicer. We have more product than we've ever had. We've got 18 permanent game tables set up with a bunch of super sick terrain. So anytime people come in, we've got more than enough space for everybody. Doing those GTs and tournaments, like we can fit in 36 people real easy.
How often do you guys have tournaments and stuff like that in your actual store itself? I didn't realize you guys had that many tables just hanging out in the store. That's huge.
Yeah, so for events, we try and do one a month, and so it'll be a different game system. So like we did our Sigmar one this month. We'll probably do 40K next month, and then Kill Team. I know we got a Middle-earth tournament we're going to do in the mix there. But for each game, I'd say like once every 3 months, we try and have a tournament of some sort just to support the local scene. Everybody likes playing in tournaments. So
I mean, yeah, we have an RTT every week, and we had to fight with our local store to have 9 tables. So to have twice that sounds like a dream. So I'm like, I might have to GPS to see like if it's worth a hotel trip and to stay down to hang out for one of your 40K tournaments.
Yeah, man, for sure. Come on down. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, Ocala's not too far, and we do have family down in Florida. So, it's definitely a possibility.
Or if I ever stopped being lazy and paid in my Age of Sigmar army, I could come down for an Age of Sigmar one too. But I would have to learn the rules.
I mean, you'd have a little bit more fun, just saying.
So that brings us into the next question. So, I mean, you obviously run a lot of Sigmar tournaments. You play a lot of Sigmar. It's your chosen game for the most part. How do you feel about all the 4th edition stuff that's come out yet? I mean, is there anything that sort of makes you hesitant, or are you just really looking forward to 4th?
No, so the Age of Sigmar team for the rules guys, like they've just been killing it for like the past year or so. And so that team of guys has put together 4th edition, and literally everything that they've put out about it has just been excellent. And even on the 40K side, like you guys are always wary of the double turn. That's like the big boogeyman out there. But they even took that and fixed it for you guys, where now if you do take the double turn, it still exists, but the price of it is that you can't score a battle tactic that round, which is like your secondaries. Giving up scoring those secondary points for an entire round in an Age of Sigmar game is pretty much a death sentence. You can typically score max or close to max every game, and so giving up those now 4 points at a chance for this double turn, you have to just totally cripple them and just blow them up, or you probably just lost the game by taking it. So overall, we're just going to see a lot less double turns, especially on the tournament scene, because now you're giving up those 4 points, and like maybe you still win the game, but when we go to tiebreakers on points, you have now lost the tournament because you took that double, you got scored 4 less than the other guy. Now placings, you're going to place lower than them. So definitely a big game changer there.
I actually completely love that change because, admittedly, the one time it happened to me in a game, it was a huge feel bad, right? It was just like, I don't know what else could have done differently. I just got hit twice before I got hit back. So talking to there was a newer World Leaders player at the store, and I was just like, yeah, charging them in their deployment zone is great, but all the objectives are in the middle of the table. So you're just passing up on primary to kill them, but you don't win by killing them, you win by points. So even if you table them turn 3, if they scored more points than you and you haven't scored any points, it's great. It's not helpful. Making people have to choose between, do you want to do damage or do you want to score points, is huge. Especially, I didn't realize that it's likely you max your secondaries every turn. But I guess if you're picking them every turn, it's not. You're going to pick ones you can do, right?
Yeah. Like for good players, you're most of the time going to score max, or like you might miss a primary point here or there. Like those are usually pretty hotly contested. But for this current season of Sigmar, you're scoring 5 battle tactics, all your secondaries, you're maxing those out every game.
Wonder how that'll interact with the twists coming in 4th edition, where like the one is if you table your opponent, you get 20 points.
I haven't heard about that one for 4th. They have some underdog mechanics that they put in there, but it's stuff like if you're behind on points, you're going to score, or you get an extra command point that they're in the round. Or if you're the underdog and the missions have a specific one, if you charge the opponent on their home objective, you get +1 to wound rolls. So they're kind of smaller little bonuses. We were worried when they announced the underdog mechanic that it was going to turn into a 40k gambit situation where they're scoring those 20-30 points in one big swoop, because Sigmar, before you're scoring like 25-28 points every game, so like a 20-point swing, like what are we talking about? But the new edition, we're scoring 10 every round, so it'll be a 50 score max. It'll be a little bit easier to keep track of, I think.
So Jordan, what do you think? Do you think this is like a good time for people to hop into Age of Sigmar? For reference, like I have never played Age of Sigmar. I'm starting a Seraphon army, but all of my experience comes with 40k. So how do you feel about the new player experience with Age of Sigmar 4th?
Yeah, so for like right now, jumping into 3rd, terrible idea. Don't do it. Just wait for 4th edition. But once 4th edition drops, it's the absolute best, perfect time to get in. If you've ever been thinking about it or considering it at any level, like 4th edition launch is the time to come in. Everybody, they're hitting the reset button, so everybody's going to be on a somewhat level playing field. Everybody's going to be learning these new rules. They're doing full indexes for all of the armies, so everybody's going to have new war scrolls, which are like data sheets, and new army abilities. Just everything is a full reset. And from what we've seen, the game itself, they're streamlining things, where some of the bloat and things that took up a lot of unnecessary time are getting taken out. They're still leaving a good layer of like tactical depth with some new commands and stuff that they put in. It's going to be a faster game. I think the armies are going to be slightly smaller. We're seeing like a 15% point increase on units from what we've seen so far. So it'll be a little bit less stuff to paint up. And it just looks like a super, super fun game. If the double now is a lot of people's big concern, with that being less impactful and the game being faster, everything about it is just good down the line for jumping in.
Awesome.
I think we've seen with 10th edition 40k, there's smaller armies is probably a little easier to balance too. So I'm happy to see that change, because ultimately it doesn't matter how much better your army is. You only have 5 turns. So if they just have a critical mass of guys that you can't kill, it's kind of hard to balance that. Like, yeah, my 150 guys don't do any damage, but you can't kill them all in 5 turns.
That was a viable playstyle for a hot second when the Soulblight Gravelords book came out. It was people showing up with 240 zombies and saying, what are you going to do about it? But they balance changed that pretty quick. Like, they realized, hey, nobody's having fun with this. People were showing up to tournaments with like a whiteboard and like just putting down tally marks instead of actually keeping track of casualties because it was just too much. But for 4th edition, yeah, like that's going to be gone. They're changing it to where you can only reinforce a unit once. So like a squad of 10 guys can only go up to 20 guys max. So we're not going to have big like 60-man blobs of things just sitting on objectives. And then the ultimate balancing tool for us is always the battle tactics, where it's those secondaries. Like you're going to score those secondaries by doing things, not by just sitting on an objective. Like you need to be on the board edge, or you need to be killing this unit. We need to see the full list of those before I can give you the inside scoop. But the ones we've seen so far, they look to be pretty good.
I mean, I'm sure there will be a few, let's say, hiccups when the edition first drops that maybe the design team didn't think of. But, you kind of hit the nail on the head earlier. When you're the Age of Sigmar team, they're on it. Their rules are great. Their models are great. And obviously, I love 40K. There's no shade on the 40K team at all. It's just the Age of Sigmar team, they seem to really like have a handle on both the competitive side and what people want to run and people do run is pretty good. So I have high hopes for 4th edition, and I'm excited to kind of play it. I haven't played a Warhammer 4th edition in 15 years.
So people often refer to Age of Sigmar as a beer and pretzels game, not as competitive as 40K. I'm pretty sure I can guess your thoughts, but why don't you tell us, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, so for the common man, the common 40K player, or just people who haven't played war games in general, they come in and they see the Age of Sigmar, and it's really just that double turn that gets everybody. And once you play enough games and learn how it works and like what you can do to mitigate it or capitalize on it, like it turns it into a super, super fun mechanic. And it's something where it makes every single game different. So like I could play the best army in the game and you could play the worst army in the game. And depending on the flow of the game and the decisions you make, like you can still win. Where in 40K, I don't feel like that's quite the same. Like if somebody just showed up with a Bobo list full of just nonsense stuff, they have absolutely 0% chance to go up against Richard Siegler and win a game. Like he's just going to crush them every single game without a shadow of a doubt. And in Sigmar, like I'm pretty good. I'm not the best player in the world or anything, but every game I play, even against newer players, there is that risk where like, man, the perfect storm could happen and they could take this game from me. And it keeps you on your toes and it makes every game engaging and fun. And especially when you're playing your friends all the time, like it's not very fun if like we're just pairing up against each other and just the same thing happens every single game. Like my army's just better than yours. I keep winning. Like the ebbs and flows and these big surges just keeps everything different, keeps everything fun. And it's still like, it's not just, oh yeah, I got the double, I win the game. Like I've played Skaven competitively for the past 2 years, and I play a very high drop army, which means that when the game begins, they finish deploying first, and they get to choose who goes first or second in the battle round. And what the typical strategy is they're going to go second because they want to have that double turn on their side. Just over the course of the game, there's going to be 4 or 5 priority rolls. They're going to get that double turn when they need it and try and just pummel me into dust with the double. And I've built my list to like where to withstand that, and I get double turned every single game I play, and my like competitive win rate is around 85%, and my casual games around the shop are even higher. So it's something that once you've got it down, it's just not as big of a deal. And oftentimes when they take that double, they put themselves in a bad position because they're trying to just wham bam you. So double turn, I love it. I think the new change is good though. It will help open the game up to a whole new set of people who would never give that idea a chance. You have to be willing to accept that there have been games where they got the double turn and that's the reason they won. And that's a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow. But for me, that's a pill that like I'll take it down, man. That's great because now this was an engaging and fun game where if that double didn't exist, we could have stopped playing at turn 2 or turn 3 because I already had you whooped.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, and also that high win rate would scare me if I played in your store, I think.
Yeah, I'm just over here like, I'm not the best player in the world. My win rate's 85%. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So once you know what you're doing, like if you go into a casual scene and you are a competitive player, there's just a different level to things.
This is true. This is very true. I know it happens a lot with the local scene around here when people play certain people that just get tabled, like me.
The first time Richard Siegler came into our shop, I was talking to him and he was like, yeah, like I'm a competitive 40K player, and like really emphasized that he was competitive. At the time, we all kind of snickered about it for a second, and then we like very quickly realized like, oh no, he's not joking. Like he's the man.
Yeah. No, Richard Siegler is a little bit something else for sure.
Yeah,
He is real good.
So very cool. I appreciate you answering the questions for us and just letting folks know a little bit more about the store and just letting us know a little bit more about things. Actually, it was good, which is something that can lead us into our next topic, which is the Age of Sigmar 4.0 reveals, what's in the box, and just everything else that's gone on over the past week. So let's start with the box. So the Skaven Tide box has a ton of miniatures, at least 30 points of Skaven in there, at least, but they're 50 Skaven miniatures. I think one of the big things, and for those listening, we're looking at the Warcom article that shows everything that's in the box. 24 Stormcast, 50 Skaven, 4 terrain features, 2 range rulers, core rules, the Spearhead Fire and Jade book, double-side game board, which is Warcry sized, the Spearhead card deck, and the General's Handbook card. So there's a lot in this box. I think one of the biggest things I like is Spearhead has its own book in the box, because Spearhead itself looks like a somewhat interesting mode for a quick game.
Yeah, for sure. The Spearhead is a super exciting thing for the Sigmar crowd at large. You don't always have 3 hours to play a nice competitive game of Sigmar, and so the idea of a game that's going to be tactically engaging that we're going to play in an hour and a half, a la Kill Team, something along those lines, it's like everybody wants that. They've wanted that for a very long time. The reviews for it have been great so far, so I'm very excited to get my hands on that, see what it's all about, and play some games. That'll be the easiest stepping stone possible for getting people into the game. If you can tell them, hey, you can buy this box and now you can play these hour-long games that are going to be engaging, fun, and teach you the core mechanics of the larger game. Just what a dream.
Now, my question though is Spearhead going to replace Warcry? Is Warcry going to go away?
I mean, if you put me in command, yeah, Warcry, nobody plays it. The models, all the Sigmar people buy it just because they're cool models that you can use in Sigmar. But like, physical games of Warcry in my life, maybe I've seen 2. I tried a couple myself outside of that, and the game was fine, but it played a little too like board gamey. Like when you did your damage attacks, like it just did damage. They didn't get to roll saves, and it wasn't connected to Age of Sigmar at large. Like the skills you're developing there, they didn't transition over. So Spearhead here should just send it to its grave. Warcry rip. Nobody will really miss it.
Well, they already started that with all the models going away.
I really like Warcry, and if they do Spearhead correctly, I don't have an issue with Warcry going away. My issue with Combat Patrol is I don't want to always have to take the same 15 to 20 models every game, so I hope that there's some sort of level of flexibility there. But ultimately, like, the Spearhead rules, I feel as though, based on what they described, will apply to pretty much any smaller size game in general, so you probably can adapt them pretty easily as long as you and your opponent are both chill guys. Because I don't think Warcry really gets the love that it, like, obviously Kill Team gets way more love than Warcry does as far as like rules and things go. So I kind of don't. I'm gonna be sad Warcry goes, but
yeah, it's one of those, it just never caught on. The models for it are amazing, and like the game itself, it was fast paced, but the community for it never really developed for one reason or another. So at that point, like, if Spearhead could swoop in, this is a market that exists. This is a market that there's a ton of people who they want this really bad. And so if they can make this a good product, that's going to make a lot of people happy.
Yeah, I think that with the exception of the alternating activations things, for me, the thing that I liked it was not because it felt like Age of Sigmar, especially because that was the first kind of foray in a Warhammer Fantasy I ever played, was that it felt like War Machine. I don't know if you've ever played War Machine or Hordes.
No, I never got into the War Machines.
Yeah, but like the way that you don't roll saves, there's no such thing as a saving throw. You're trying to hit a specific number, and then they have their armor and things like that. And it felt like that closer to that than a War Machine game, which is probably a miss because you want it to feel like this is your game, not this is a facsimile of a different company's IP. But this will be a way, like, that way you can play a smaller game, but also you can play it as like you are learning how to play the game. Whereas I for a long time, I didn't feel like Combat Patrol really did that very well in 40K, because for a while, 40K was so based on synergies. It's like, yeah, you kind of learn the rules, but your army, you need to understand how auras and stuff work in 9th edition. And if you don't have any of those auras, none of this matters. So I think that Spearhead hopefully will do a little bit better.
Yeah, locally, we didn't see Combat Patrol take off either for 40K. That's where we're really hoping that Spearhead, like, that introductory level to teach people the core mechanics of the game is just so useful, especially like from a store point of view. Like, that is the hardest part, is teaching people how to play the game and play the game correctly. With Spearhead, they've said that like the stats for like the weapon profiles and the health points and all that kind of stuff in Spearhead are going to be the exact same as Age of Sigmar. So it's going to give you that familiarity there. And then the secondaries, you get to choose, you draw from a deck of cards, and the card is going to have one command or one like secondary on it, a battle tactic. It's giving you both of those things, which in the bigger game are like your key strategic points of decision making. And so it's just going to get everybody familiar with all of the concepts in a small way, so when they do make the jump, things will be a little bit easier for them.
I noticed that they took like the Vanguard for the Slaves of Darkness down, and I assume they're probably taking all the Vanguards like that. Are they going to just index Slaves of Darkness, this is your Spearhead list, or do you think they're going to do it that way, or do you think they're just going to release boxes like lickety split for all the factions?
No, so they put up a thing where all the Vanguard boxes that are current, outside of Beast of Chaos, who got removed, that all of the Vanguard boxes are the Spearhead boxes. So I've already seen the product images for the Spearheads, and it's the same exact boxes, just with the Spearhead text on the front. That's great for everybody who already had the Vanguard box. And then as far as your playing the same list every time thing, for each faction that you play, so like you're going to play Slaves to Darkness, you have a couple different like sub-factions you can choose from. And then there's a list of like enhancements, which will be like your artifacts or command traits. So it will always be the same models, but there's going to be a couple little twists that you can put on it in list building. And then that combined with the deck of cards mechanic, where kind of like Leviathan, you're drawing 3 cards each turn, and those are your secondaries or commands you can use to do powerful things. I think that will keep the game feeling somewhat fresh.
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally looking forward to it, especially since everything comes in the box that you need. You know, it's a small board. You don't need much terrain for it, obviously, because it's just this handful of couple scatter pieces and a couple of walls. Looks like the board is marked with objectives itself, like it's part of the board, so you don't even need anything to put down. Just looks like it'll be a good transition into Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, best we can tell, the terrain that's on those boards is the terrain that comes in the box set. So in theory, you're getting literally everything you need.
Plus the ruler has little rats on it, so you can't really go wrong with the ruler. So beyond Spearhead, although I will say 40K should really copy Age of Sigmar's homework for 11th edition, get a Combat Patrol book in the freaking box with what you sell us as a 2-part army. That'd be really cool. Otherwise, you know, it's a good box. Value, according to the giveaway post they put up, is it's going to run 265, which, you know, with everything in the box, 2 books, a little bit of scatter terrain, and 74 models is not bad.
Well, that's 15 more than Leviathan, right?
Leviathan was 250, so yeah, I think so.
So yeah, with inflation, that sounds like pretty standard stuff. It's gonna be hot rat summer, so you know you got plenty of little rats to paint up.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna give Miguel my Stormcast half. I'm gonna get his Skaven half, so I'll have 2 Skaven halves, and I'll just be set.
Yeah. They haven't told us the official retail price, like to us stores, but they did put it in the article on one of them that it was $265. So $265 retail, that means like your retailers, like we should be selling it for like $225 with the 15% discount. So at $225, like you're getting, we need to see points, but it's probably going to be like around 1,000 points each side. That's 2 complete spearheads that you can play, plus the terrain, plus the General's Handbook, like that's your like competitive season book that they're including for the first time in it, plus the Spearhead books, plus, like the value's going to be there. I think it's definitely going to be a very popular box.
So one of the things it actually says in the article, and there's misgivings for the way this is worded, but it says the box is divided in 2 sides coming in at 1,200 points. So I read that as it's 1,200 points total in the box combined with the 2 armies. I'm guessing like 700-800 Stormcast, and then just everything else is going to be rats. But overall, the models, I'm looking at the models currently. First one up is the Lord Vigilant on Gryfstalker, and it's just a pretty model. Looks like it may be a pain to paint, especially with that cloak, but if you do it in bits, it's probably fairly easy, but it is a really nice looking Stormcast model, even if the axe is just a little bit bent.
Do we know if these are push fit? They probably are, because it's the starter box, right? I'm assuming.
I would imagine so. Like that's the way it was with Dominion. That's the way it was with Leviathan. Like I'm sure that they'll keep these guys push to fit.
Yeah, I'm guessing they're on mono pose.
Well, the good news is with push to fit is you can put your guys in sub assemblies to paint them, and then you can still just like pop his cloak back on to play a quick game and then take it right back off. So that's something.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
Yep, and then we have Lord Terminus, which I still say would be a good Master of Executioner proxy. I just like the axe.
I mean, just a helmet swap and you're there.
We've said it on many episodes before, but Sigmar still has the best models.
Oh, yeah.
It's not even close.
Yeah, not at all. My absolute favorite is this next guy, the Lord Veritant. That model is just so good.
You might be able to use him as like an Inquisitor of some sort.
Yep, Flaming Brazier, and if direct article, it's got a skull shield on his back. It's wrapped in chains, and he's got paper attached like everything else. It's a really cool looking model. It's just a good model.
Any model that comes with a dog, I'm a fan of. So if it comes with a little pet, I usually like that model.
Not even just a dog, but a bird dog.
I mean, that's why I brought the Cruel Boy Mantra Hutta's warband, because I wanted those monkeys. So
They're surprisingly solid. I like those guys.
oh yeah, they're pretty cool. Their models are great. I had fun when I played them, even though once again, Warcry is what it is. But
You heard it here first. Warcry, garbage game. We said it first.
Got him.
The Night Quester, it's an okay model. I mean, normal dude, not necessarily a Stormcast, just a normal angry guy with a flaming brazier and a sword. And then we already saw the Reclusians, the Prosecutors.
I love these wingy boys.
Yeah, big glow up on those guys.
Yeah, I like him. I just don't like the contact points for the base where they meet the rock, because I'm assuming that's just going to be one piece, but still,
The old ones were even worse. It was like a little ribbon that came down, so these are going to be bad,
no.
but it is an improvement.
The new Liberators look good. They look properly sized, I think. They don't look like super Space Marine-y by any means, but I think they're appropriate sized now, at least. And then you come to the real part of this box, which are the Skaven.
Are they, just real quick, are they moving away from the solid gold aesthetic for Stormcast, it looks like? Because all these guys are silver and with gold trim.
Yeah, I forget which host or whatever this one was, but yeah, they have shifted focus away from the gold and blue over to the silver and blue, which is a good shift.
I think the silver and blue looks hot.
Much less trim to paint that way. But back to our Hot Rat Summer here. We have the Claw Lord on Gnaw Beast, which is just a fantastic looking Skaven model.
Yeah, this guy's dumb awesome. Like, I want to paint this guy so bad.
Yeah, every starter box that comes out, there's always like one popular half, and like it's definitely the rats on this one. It's not even close.
Well, yeah, I mean, who cares about the guys in armor? Like, look at these cool rats.
Look at this rat in armor with a Gatling pistol.
Oh, I didn't even see the pistol. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's got shots in the game. Like, we've seen his war scroll. He's not doing a ton of damage, but he's got some like cool little support things he does. And then yeah, he's got the little pistol shots. The little bit of shooting can be impactful still. So.
And then you have the classic Grey Seer, little rats coming out of the base, out of the cracked bell, which I thought was a nice touch. The Warlock Engineer with his sniper rifle. It's a fancy looking lad with his goggles and his spyglass. Another really fantastic looking model. And then you have one of my favorites. It's just a stupid model, just the rattling warp blaster. I love the way this thing looks.
That was probably my favorite part from the intro video when it was running the guy over. I was like, yes, they nailed it.
And the fact that if you roll a 1, you just do a mortal wound to yourself, and if you roll 7 ones, you just die. Because they've showed the card for this one, and with somebody leading it, it's like 66 plus 3 shots. It's a fun little, not even centerpiece model, but just a fun looking model, but it's definitely going to be a sub-assembly model. I just wonder how it all fits together if it's monopose.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's monopose, but it looks like based on the connection points, you could probably be a little creative by cutting and green stuffing to make it pivot on the little base at the top and stuff like that.
That'd be cool.
Now for straight glow up, you have the Rat Ogres, which these are so much better than the old models.
It's so many years. People have longed for this for so long. But yeah, they look awesome.
And then you have the Giselles, which are another classic model. I do appreciate the rats not hiding behind the shield. This little peephole through the shield.
Yeah, they're one I'm super excited for. Just they haven't been good for a very long time. So the new rules look great. We need to see the points, but it'll be fun to have those guys back up on the board.
And then just a horde of clan rats, which they needed an update.
Were the old ones fine cast?
The old ones were still plastic. It was just from like their old Island of Blood set is when it first came out. So it's like a little mono-piece body, and then you just glued 2 arms onto it for most of them.
Oh, yeah, okay.
We're going to have one problem with clan rats, and this is the market is going to get flooded with them. Just anytime the starter boxes come out, like they're now on the secondary market, there's just a million of these sprues floating around. You're going to have a bunch of old Skaven faithfuls. Like, I have 120 painted clan rats. There's not enough money you could pay me to, like, I'm going to paint up 80 more or anything. Like, my old guys, we're going to be the same base size. Like, I might paint up like the unit champion and the banner from this, but painting up 40, 60, 80 of these guys, not the most fun.
Yeah, it's just not worth it at that point, especially if you have them all already. I mean, the old models are fine. And then, like you said, the rest of these are going to go on resale and someone else will snap them up.
But these do look great. Like, it is a huge step up. Like, the old ones I think are still fine, but like these, the kinetic energy and the moving around and the flow of them and the command models there, all of it looks awesome.
Now people are just going to be chomping at the bit for the rest of the range to be refreshed.
Yeah, we're due for some other ones for sure.
I bet. I just wonder if they're going to pull what they're doing with 40k with some of these. I mean, Index comes out first. Stormcast and Skaven will probably get the first battle tomes because they're the first armies released. When the battle tomes come out, we know some models are already going away. Are they going to get rid of, I'm not sure about the range. I mean, do they have any Forge World rat kits?
For Sigmar, they wiped out all of the Forge World stuff a while back, maybe 6 months to a year ago. So just all of that's gone. But in the Skaven line, there were still a lot of metal and finecast models. It appears that they're trying to purge all of those out. And so they put up a list, like when they had that Beast of Chaos part going away, there was a list of Skaven models like the Scryer Acolytes and Warp Grinder and Arch Warlock. There's probably 10 or 15 different units that they said are going away. And on that list, a lot of them are just going to get resculpts. So like Jezzails were on the list, but we already knew like new Jezzails are coming. So it'll be interesting to see which ones do get the resculpt and which ones just go away forever.
All in all, I think the box is a solid deal, solid box, and I look forward to ordering at least one of them.
Yeah, for if anybody's interested in Spearhead alone, like just getting the book and 2 things for that, like if you and your buddy wanted to split the box, or if you just wanted somebody to play with you and you're going to build it all, like having that in the box, having the full game available to you, just a lot of different ways you can go with it. Usually the retail side of things, like I'd have to add it all up to give you exact numbers of where they should be, but it probably ends up being like $250 to $300 retail worth of models on each side. If you're getting $500-600 worth of dudes for $225, plus you're getting all these books that you're going to need anyways, you're feeling good.
The question is, how much is Games Workshop going to print? Are they going to pull a Leviathan and overprint?
No indications yet from them. They've told, like, always start like priming it, and they want to like get an indication of how many we want to get and stuff like that. And they haven't indicated that there's going to be any issues with us getting how many we want, but we never know for sure until like the pre-order week comes up and I have to lock in a number with them. Then they'll bounce back and say, okay, you wanted this many, well, you're only going to get half that. But they did us right with Leviathan. We got a ton of that. Dominion, there was a big snafu with that one, but we did get a bunch. So by all means, we should get plenty of these kits, and all the local stores that are around the country, everybody should be able to get an ample number of these.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to get my hands on one, and I really like the dichotomy of the armies they picked. Skaven obviously is a horde, and Stormcast are a little bit more elite, so you kind of, if you're trying to get people into it, you kind of get 2 different flavors of how different armies play, and it helps narrow down to like, do I want to play an army with only like 30 really good guys, or I want to play an army with 100 guys that all suck? Not suck, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. It's something where if you and your friend bought this box and both of you said you hate it, then like Warhammer's maybe just not for you, because it's covering a lot of bases, a lot of different angles you can try and play with.
And come on, who doesn't like Skaven? Really? Skaven's the best.
Also, if you play D&D, every one of those Skaven models can be plopped on the table as a D&D mini. Like the Skaven could be either be Ratfolk if you play that in your game, or just kobolds.
Oh yeah, easy.
Pick the model, put it on the table, it all works. For like both sides. I mean, you could put a Stormcast on the table for your human paladin in your set.
Oh, Jordan, actually, before we move on from Age of Sigmar, I wanted to ask you, do you ever do teams Age of Sigmar? Is that like a thing?
So we have not run our own team event, but last year there was the Kansas City Open, that GW, that was like their first Age of Sigmar teams event. And so me and a few of the locals, we teamed up and all went down there for that. And it was a lot of fun. Like getting to choose the matchups in the beginning was a super fun little mini game. I think you guys do the same thing for 40K, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That was an element that I had not experienced before, just like getting to choose the matchups. And so it was super fun for me. At the time, Skaven was perceived as like a pretty bad army. And so a lot of time, like if they won the roll off to choose the first matchup, they would pair me into their strongest player. And then like for the event, I ended up going 5-1. So most of the time it didn't work out for them.
Their arrogance was their downfall.
Yeah. It felt good.
But the thing that I was wondering is, I don't know if the scoring system is the same as in 40K, whereas if you win by so many points, it's a 16-14. If you win by more points, it's a 15-5, stuff like that. Is the scoring differential kind of the same there, or is it different?
The way they did it at the Kansas City Open, you had the win-losses of your team. So it was supposed to be 5-man teams, but they ended up changing it to a 4-man team right at the last second, which was strange. So if you went 3-1, you won, easy. If it went 2-2, it was either a tie, or if you won by a certain amount of points total between all the matchups, then it would be a victory for the team that won by the big differential. But what they did is in the packet, they had printed it out for 5-man teams. And so they had it set up to where if you had 2 wins, which means you went 2-3 and lost, but if you outscored the other team by like 22 points, you still won because like your 2 games were a blowout, which didn't make any sense to me regardless. But when they switched it over to 4-man teams, they didn't change the packet. And so when you had 2 wins, it was a 2-2 draw. You still had to win by 20 something points for it to be considered a win. In Sigmar, like a full game worth of points is like 20, 25 points. And over the course of like 4 games, just you're never going to hit that differential mark. Like you just have to like utterly devastate them to be at a 2-2 and have that points differential. And so a lot of the games just ended in ties. Like my team at the very end, they put us on the top table playing the number 1 team, and we went 2-2. My game, like I totally blew the guy out, and we had one other guy blow him out. And so we had a points differential of 18 points, which is a just devastating win where we crushed them. But because of the packet, it ended up just being a draw. And then they ended up winning the event, and we were in 3rd because of it. So it was a little bit of a feels bad moment there. We played them, we beat them, like by all rights and merits, like it should have been us. But they're not doing a team event this year, and so maybe they didn't like how that shook out either.
So it's a little different than the WTC scoring, but it feels like with the underdog mechanic, where they've stated their intent is to make closer games, obviously, that having those blowouts is going to be harder. So I kind of wonder I don't know how prevalent Age of Sigmar is. But if it is going to be an issue, they're going to have to come up with a scoring system, because if every game is going to be potentially within, for example, just throwing a number out there, 5 points, you're never going to have really that blowout if there's always a system there, like you could just blue shell at the end of the game.
Yeah, they'll definitely have to come up with something different. I think GW may just stay away from it, but there's like independent circuit systems. I think there's like an ATC, something like that, where they do some Sigmar Teams events. And so I think they have their own scoring mechanic that they do that they'll just adjust for 4th edition.
But now we're in space. We're no longer in the Eightfold Path. We're no longer in the realms of Sigmar. We're back in space 10,000 years before the events of 40k. But these guys look dope. We're looking at the new mechanic of miniatures for the Horus Heresy, the mechanic of battle group, these little robot guys. I don't play AdMech, but I'm sure there's something you can proxy these guys as, because these guys look awesome.
Yeah, these are way cooler than the regular AdMech stuff. Like, I'm with you. As soon as I saw these, I'm like, oh man, what are people going to proxy these as? Because they're just better.
Yeah, I mean, these models are just great compared to poor AdMech folks. Even these dudes, little gribbly troops.
Yeah, they might turn those into like Electro Priest or something.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are definitely like could just be any sort of servitor type unit for sure. I love how like the guys don't have arms. Some of them just don't have arms. They're like, you don't need this.
It's much easier to paint that way. Who needs an arm?
It's 1/2 centimeter less of a surface to paint.
This thing though, this transport tank, whatever it actually is freaking awesome. I love the look of this thing.
Yeah, it's hard for me to figure out what look they were going for. It looks just generally like a cool guy, but you know what it looks like? It looks like the big drill from Avatar: The Last Airbender that Azula was taking against Ba Sing Se.
That's fair.
Does it not?
Okay, yeah, that's legit.
Dude, there is no war in Ba Sing Se. There is no war on Terra. But no, this thing is cool. It's just a transport.
Yeah, I would just proxy it as a Rhino and put it in my 40k game.
Yeah, depending on size, I mean that could work pretty easily.
It's going to be bigger, I think,
It looks
but
Land Raider size,
I'll pay the price. Yeah, I think it's a Land Raider size.
Oh, well then there you go.
And these Castellax Battle Automata, they also look really cool.
Yep, just cooler Castellan robots.
The exact same thing, just a little bit cooler looking. Yeah, these models all look really good.
Yeah, I mean, everything, Heresy is just not my game. I'm not going to buy it or play it, but if I did, it would probably be this box.
It exists as a range of like proxy models, right? Like one of my Master of Executions is a Legion Praetor with Axe. Just like,
Yep.
you know, I don't know, probably 35% of World Eater players have the same proxy model and stuff
Yep,
like that.
I do. He's on my shelf.
Yeah, he looks great. It's a great model. It's not a game that I play, but I sure do play 40k and put those models right in because it's basically the same range. Oh, this guy is a tech priest for sure.
Yeah, I was super bummed when they came out with the Age of Darkness box and they like started this whole 30k refresh. That they're like, yeah, and you can use all these models in your 40k games. And everybody was hyped, dude. Everybody's buying Leviathan Dreadnoughts that they haven't been able to get for years, and everything was going great. Then they all just ripped it right back out. That was a bummer move there.
I was running in my CSM army before at the end of 9th. I was running 2 Decimators. So when they took away literally everything from CSM and made it all to Legends, I was real sad. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, why are you taking all this cool stuff away? Like, I understand taking some of it, but like, you can't tell me there was a brass scorpion during the Horus Heresy. That's definitely not what it was.
It's one of those that's tough because, like, sales wise, when they did that, like 30K sales are just down. Like, we were selling a fair number of 30K kits because everybody could use it in their 40K games, and like 40K is by and large the most popular game, so everybody was happy they get to buy all this cool stuff. We're now like, it still sells, but just like maybe a tenth of what it was doing. So kind of a confusing move.
Yeah, honestly, like if I was a betting man, I would have assumed that they were sunsetting Horus Heresy, but they keep putting out banger models for the game, so obviously that's not the case. So I'm not really sure what the intent there was, but
Just happy to see something that's not tanks for a change, because that's what they've been releasing a lot. It's just vehicles,
Yeah.
artillery.
and tanks are a lot harder to proxy as other things, unfortunately.
But not this guy. This guy could be proxied. He's a really cool model. The Archmagos Prime.
Archmagos exist in AdMech, like the same title, so you just plop them right in there, paint them up.
Again, I don't pay a lot of attention to Horus Heresy, but this one drew my eye because there's just so many cool models. Now we transition into 40K. Let's talk about Gene Stealer Colts, and I have some strong opinions. First off, the new model, some anti-vehicle psyker type lady from what they said, basically. Very anti-tank. Don't have a stat sheet for them yet, but I mean, it's a nifty looking model. All brain, not much else.
To quote Neil Patrick Harris, it's some kind of smart bug.
Yes.
So the thing that confuses me is, why are there two bug arms? Oh, there's not two bug arms. It's a glove. Okay, I thought there were two bug arms and one normal arm. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Shouldn't the extra arm be a weird arm?
Yes. Yeah. It's just a glove. Because you have to make sure if they're afraid or not. You have to touch it with your skin.
Yeah, just, it's probably kind of goopy, so I don't want to shake her hand anyway.
Benefactus, that's the name I couldn't think of. This is Benefactus, which leads us into the codex that's coming soon. One of the things about the codex I like is it's got 5 detachments, which is one more than Sisters, so suck it, Preston. But they have the Brood Brothers. That is going to be one of the detachments, and it's going to be up to 1,000 points of guard in your army.
Whoa, 1,000 points.
Yeah, so 1,000 points of guard, 1,000 points of GSC. So I was getting rid of my combat patrols, which I've now canceled those and kept those. Because speaking of combat patrols, I'm just going to skip the battle force in a second. This combat patrol is terrible compared to the older combat patrol. They gutted the combat patrol box because the Gene Stealer combat patrol is one of the best ones out there for everything you get.
Yeah, value-wise, yeah, banger. Yeah.
That's why I have 3 of them. Its value couldn't get better. I mean, Id and Sisters were like the top 2, which both got good at this time around, but this is the new combat patrol box. So you get your Adelan Jackals, you get a Ridge Runner, and what is that, 5 Neophytes? 10 Neophytes?
I think hybrids. I think they're hybrids.
Yeah, the Acolytes.
And that's it.
Is there a little hero in the back, maybe? Is that a Kellermorph or something, or no?
No Kellermorph, but I think you get is the leader of the riders here, the dude with the rifle? Yeah.
Okay.
Jack Laffus is there, so I mean, that's your leader. But still, I mean, that's one very specific playstyle for a horde army. I feel sorry for anybody who has to buy into this army now, because there's no good way to unless it's used models. I mean, you can find a lot on the used shelves, but still, it just seems, it's a feel bad again, I think, because this combat patrol is just nowhere near as good as the previous one.
If they just made like the regular Neophyte hybrids and stuff like bad, where you just like don't want them, then that will make this box feel a little bit better, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely a maybe, but only having him as the one character is a little rough. I mean, you don't even get the mutant guys. I mean, you don't have much. I mean, getting the Ridge Runner's nice because that's a somewhat hard to find kit. So that's a nice to have in the box. I just don't think it's going to be that worth it. But the joke is the Battle Force box is basically the combat patrol with an extra truck and the extra character. So you get Gene Stealers, you get your Aberrants, you get a Rock Grinder, and the other version of the truck I can't remember the name of. You get your new leader. And I mean, it's going to be, what, $220 for this box, give or take?
Yeah, they're normally that 210, 220, something like that. And the bummer for all these Battle Force boxes is this is something where we're going to get capped super hard. Like, all of your local stores, we're probably going to get 2 each of these boxes. So, like, we've got thousands of customers. Like, I'm getting 2 boxes. And one fair shout to GW, like, we're a bigger store, but they cap us at 2. And like, same thing for your local mom and pop store. Like, they also get capped at 2. So they try and keep it a level playing field in that regards. They just want to make sure everybody has enough. But it's always questionable, like, why aren't we know these are going to sell, just make more. Like, just give us more. Everybody wants to get more of these. And just be prepared for both of these Battle Force boxes. They're going to be hard to get, going to sell out quick.
If I were to start a Gene Stealer Cult army, first of all, I would say Gene Stealer Cult correctly. I wouldn't misspeak like I said that. But I would buy 2 of these boxes if I could, because I feel as though this is a good box. 10 of the Gene Stealers would definitely uses bits to convert probably like some Imperial Guardsmen into more hybrids and stuff like that. But I feel as though this is a better box. Whereas the Combat Patrol, I feel as though you get one and you might not even get one. I feel as though it's not a great sell. It's just not enough models.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like it's going to be worth the 160, 170 it's going to be for that kit. Because, I mean, the Ridge Runner is a $60 model. The Jackals are like $60 for 5 units. Then you have another 10 guys plus the leader, so...
Oh, Jackals come in 5?
Yeah, Jackals are 5. The Acolyte hybrids, they're also a box of 5. So that's going to be $60 a box each on one of those, which just feels bad. Like, people, when you look at those 5 guys, you don't think that that's a $60 box, but it is.
Because it's not.
Jordan, you're blowing my mind right now. Hybrids are 60 for 5?
I'll double check real quick for you, but I know that it is a box that comes with 5 guys. Most 40k boxes these days, they're $60 a rip.
Yeah, unfortunately, that you're correct. But a unit of 20 hybrids is
45 retail.
Oh, only 45. Okay, but it's still that means it's $180 for a full squad of 20.
Yeah,
this army is so expensive.
It is, and that's why I'm glad I have the older Combat Patrols at this point, because those are the only things that makes this an easy to get into army.
Question for you guys. On these new codexes that have been coming out, it seems like there have been some like real winners and losers kind of situation, where we're used to, for so long, it's been like the new codex is the most powerful thing in the universe, where there's been a couple come out and it wasn't that case. Is the community overall happy about that? Now the power creep is a little bit less, or would they rather just every book be the banger?
Depends on who you talk to, I think. You know, if you're an Orc player, you're living large and you have the best codex you've had in years. If you're Adeptus Custodes, apparently you have to relearn how to play the game according to one of our other hosts.
And if you're Tyranids, just wait for the codex to come out.
Tyranids will do better once they get their codex.
Yep, it'll be great.
Yeah, we had a recording last go around with the usual cast and crew, and one of the guys was, yeah, well, maybe when Tyranids get their codex, it'll be okay. It's like, hey, they were the first one. I mean, overall, I think people are lukewarm. There's definitely been some good codexes, like Orcs, for instance, solid codex. CSM codex, from what we're seeing, I think seems pretty solid. Plus, it's 8 detachments, gives you more playstyle, as opposed to something like the Sisters Codex that's coming out soon. That's only got 4. I really think the minimum number of detachments in these books really should be about 5 to give people something different to play. But I think it's been middling. Dark Angels Codex, or supplement, I guess, wasn't really that great. Mason, your thoughts?
I played during the time where, in the long ago, when the next codex, or the most recent codex was the best thing on the block for sure. I remember the Grey Knights Codex, where you could play 10 Terminators and a Land Raider. Everyone had 2+ rerollable saves. And yeah, there was only 10 guys, but you just couldn't kill them. They didn't die. And they had 3-up invulns too, and it was agony to play against. And they weren't doing these balance updates every 3 months. They weren't it was basically until your codex came out, it wasn't your turn to have a good time. So it's hard for me to believe, even though, yes, sorry to beat up on the AdMech players. AdMech Codex still not very good, still very weak. It's hard for me to say, well, listen, this is just what it is. Like, you're just going to be sad, because ultimately, they're trying to get things better. They're trying to make tweaks and balances like that, but they're just not coming in with sweeping changes every time to fix things. I think AdMech probably could use sweeping changes, but most of the game, what we've seen from where we were a year ago when the faction dropped, these small tweaks are working. Like, the game is very well balanced right now compared to with a few notable exceptions. So I think that they're doing a great job, because I don't want the most recent codex to be, King Dick of Fuck Mountain. Sorry for the language. I want it to be competitive. And I've played New Orcs, have not played Green Tide yet, but I've played Bully Boys, and I've played The Hunt once. I'm 3-1 against the new codex, and that codex is supposed to be S tier according to Art of War. I do agree with them. I do think that that codex is very good, but I think they're doing a great job. And I think that even though there's going to be some winners and losers, I think there should be, because that means that they're not trying to make everything overtuned just to sell models.
Yeah, so that's nice and like heartening. It feels good to hear, because that's, for a long time, that was like one of the biggest complaints, was that if you're not the new codex, like, why are you even playing? And so I'm hearing a lot of people complaining again, like, well, my codex came out and it's not great. But I think, with like you're saying, I think that is good for the game overall. Like, every codex shouldn't be the best, and if one comes out and it is a little bit too good, like, let's just tone that one down a little bit, is a lot easier than just every book that comes out has to be better and better and better.
Yeah, I agree. My only sticking point, since you brought it up, Mason, was the Admech Codex. I just feel that there should have been something done sooner with that codex, rather than send the new data slate out in April and say, hey, sorry, we'll touch you sometime in July with the actual changes. It just feels bad for every Admech player out there, because that codex has been out for so long, and they've been so bad. I mean, although 50% win rate right now, according to 18 games played on stat check, so, who knows? Is only 18 games, though, as opposed to, like, Chikari at 59.
Well, too, it's always fun. Sometimes those factions that aren't perceived as super powerful, sometimes you just have some really good players playing it, and that elevates the win rates up to a normal. Like, the only players who are brave enough to keep playing these guys, like, they're just really good at the game.
And also, like I said, many times in the past, as Admech players are also Games Workshop Wells, because they're so expensive, so you got to keep them happy.
I think that, like, just like you said that you took Skaven to a team event, and Skaven was supposed to be a bad army, but you didn't phrase it this way, so no disrespect for your opponent, but you were dunking on people. You went 5-1 into like, oh, this is our best person, we'll take him to the Skaven against the Skaven player so you can just stop him, and you're like, no, I'm actually going to beat you instead. Yeah, if you're a faction specialist, you have a leg up on someone who just moved to the new hotness at their first opportunity, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, hopefully we get a codex roadmap this coming week, so we know what's coming outside of the one redacted codex that's still out there, which everybody has ideas about. But it would be nice to see the codex map for the next 6 months and see what's coming, who we're expecting, and when World Eaters will get a codex and make me happy.
Well, speaking of jump pack connecting points, a jump pack Canoness appears.
Yes, the Sisters Codex was also announced with a new Canoness with a two-handed chain glaive thing, which is really cool.
So I kind of pulled back and I look at the whole thing and I'm like, she's a really cool mini. And then I start focusing on the details. I'm like, something feels weird about this mini. I think that maybe it's something that maybe doesn't take pictures well, but this mini feels weird to me in some way. I don't know why. I cannot explain it. I think once I see it in person, I'll feel some type of way about it. But
I like the idea of it, like a Canoness with jump pack. Like, this is a cool thing people are going to want to field, but it doesn't look that much different than a regular Seraphim.
Right, yes. It feels very heavy for, it's not a Space Marine. It's just a girl in power armor. So I think that's probably what it is. It's a little too thick for me. Obviously, like, it's the 41st millennium, like, people come in all sizes and stuff like that. And also, like, it's for function, not for form. But I think the model looks too much like a Space Marine mini, and I think there's too many Space Marine minis in the game right now as is. I want the model to be more unique looking for the faction.
But you think 200 Space Marines are too much?
Yeah, I think the 200 Space Marine datasheets is a little too much. Just a few. Cut it down to 190, we're good.
And this is the new Battle Force box for Sisters here.
I don't know if those are good units or not, but let me tell you right now, I think that any box full of jump pack units is cool because I love jump pack units.
And then they'll be getting their 4 detachments in their codex, plus the new Combat Patrol, which, again, the Sisters Combat Patrol, the original one, was really good. At least with this one, you get 10 Arco Flags.
Yeah, I don't think this one's bad. I mean, obviously, it depends on if Sacrosanths are good or not, because Arcoflagellants are criminally good right now. So I think that this Combat Patrol still has legs. Current one has a Rhino, right? So you don't get a transport, but
I think the current one had like the weird number of models in it on a couple of the units, because it was from like the Sisters launch box that they came out with a long time ago. Yeah, you had 1 Penitent engine instead of 2. Yeah, there's just a couple weird numbers from that launch set that came out.
1 Canoness, 1 Rhino, 1 Repentia Superior, 1 Penitent engine, 3 Arcos, 4 Sister Repentia, 5 Seraphim, and 10 Battle Sisters.
Yeah, I mean, the Penitent engine is kind of not super useful, but this is probably a very slight step down over the current Combat Patrol, but I still think it's a solid Combat Patrol, so.
I got another quick question for you guys. I heard you mention that this one only has like the 4 sub-factions or battle formations or whatever you guys are calling them, and in reality, like, you're saying that you think every book should have 5 or 6 of them. Like, people like having these choices to choose from, but is 40K at large, does it typically boil down to like there's really one or two good ones anyways. Like, you can have this faux choice, but everybody's just going to pick the good one. Or do, like, all six of these things see play?
It's definitely the illusion of choice. If you're going to a GT, you're most likely, there's basically 2 from each faction that are playable.
Yeah, that's why you only see Connected Court and Hypercrypt for Necrons, for instance. Although they have other detachments, those are the main 2 detachments people run.
Space Marines have Gladius and Ironstorm. Tyranids pretty much just have
the invasion fleet's the biggest one that I see.
Tyranids just make Alex cry, that's all.
Pretty much.
I played against a what's the one that has doctrines?
Are you talking about the Synaptic Nexus one?
Yeah, I played that one.
Yeah, that one plays like how Tyranids played in 9th edition, but not as good.
Well, Tyranids in 9th edition were criminal, so
only at the end of 9th edition.
All right, that's fair. I didn't play at the start of 9th edition. I'm sure they had their time in the sun. They deserved it.
We were a horrible army because they didn't have the indexes in 9th, and our 8th edition codex was terrible. And so we were doing so bad that they gave us an army of renown that was hilariously broken. And then we got
Crusher Stampede.
Yeah, that's when we were broken. After we lost it, we were okay. For that short period of time where we had it, we were the boogeyman of the edition. Something about, 12 Carnifexes with 5 up M bolts and 5 up Feel No Pains was a problem, I guess.
Yeah, who could have seen that coming?
Yeah, who could have guessed?
No, I was just curious, like, we have the same thing is about to happen with 4th edition for Sigmar, where we're going to end up losing some of the sub-factions. And so people are worried about, like, oh no, my army's going to get dumbed down. And there's a couple weapon profiles where you used to have 2 different options, like spears or swords, but it's going to go to just one for the next one. And the reality of it, like, there was one good option that everybody chose. And, like, for sub-faction, there's the 1 or 2. So it's going to be fine.
Yeah, it's going to be the same way. I mean, we'll get the indexes, which I think they're actually supposed to start announcing some this week in the Warcom articles, so we may see some of the indexes. But we'll get indexes for all the armies, and, we'll play them as is. And, I mean, Sigmar always felt like a slightly better balanced game anyway.
Yep, like, tournament-wise, they've always kept us, like, when you look at the ranges, like, every army is in that 45 to 55 range, and they've done a pretty good job of keeping everybody there, keeping everybody close.
So, I mean, I like the choice. It's mostly I want to play more than one thing, and I want it to be a competitive choice still. So at least give me a couple that are competitive that I can choose from. But, playing with friends, changing things around, it's nice to have the other options. And now let's go to Necromunda, the game that I want to start playing because of this release. So Necromunda Hive Secundus, the models here just are gorgeous models. I just love everything about these guys.
So those guys look amazing. What exactly are they?
Nobody knows.
Yeah, it's all GSC type stuff. These are Aura Spire Hunters. I have no idea what that translates into, though.
Does that article have the new Gene Stealers in it? Because the new Gene Stealers look gorgeous, and I want them. So, yeah, those ones. Those guys are so cool looking.
Yeah, these models all just slap. I mean, every model here. Even the regular dudes, I mean, they just look... These are just going to turn into GC characters. Everything here is just GSC. I don't know. These models make me want to see what the game's about and actually play the game. But, I mean, Necromunda itself always has cool models. I think the issue with Necromunda, though, is a lot of them were resin models.
Oh, I didn't know that. Are they still resin models?
These are all plastic.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, all the new stuff that comes out, it's all plastic. But depends on how deep you want to go down into the hive. Yeah, there's some resin stuff floating around.
It's a lovely kit. It looks awesome. I'm not going to pay $150 for it, though.
Yeah, we're looking at the Chronos Pattern Iron Crawler as a landform. This thing would be dope looking, or as a Sagittar maybe based on the scale on the picture next to it. But $150 is a lot.
Part resin, part plastic, it looks like.
Any of those resin kits you see, anything that's 15 up, like your local game stores, we can't order that stuff in. I think they might let us order it at no discount, but there are a lot of times people that come in and ask me about that. Hey, can you get this for me? And it's like, no, like they just don't give us anything on that.
Oh, so it would literally be a loss for you to order it?
Yeah, by the time, like, your time dealing with it and, like, just everything is... You'd have to charge over retail, which, like, I just don't have that in my heart. I can't do that.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, but there's just a lot of neat Necromunda kits, and the new ones they announced look rather neat. Plus, it's a GSC bent, which I like personally. But, we'll see. But overall, I mean, there's a lot of neat GSC kits, or Necromunda kits, rather, that could proxy into so many different other games.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how the Necromunda game plays. Like, if it's good, if it's, like, fine, I don't know.
At least they give you fire templates. That's always nice.
Well, have you ever played just regular Necromunda before?
I have not.
No.
Okay, how about Kill Team?
I've played Kill Team.
Okay, it's a very similar vibe to Kill Team, just with, like, more narrative elements and a little bit more swinginess. Your little peon guy could shoot one pistol shot and, like, take out the big bad kind of situation. So, narratively fun, competitively don't even think about it.
And I will say these models are cool, but half the coolness of it, honestly, is the paint jobs they gave these guys, because they're just solid paint jobs. That is what sells the models, but still.
They look like almost like Sylvanas gene sealers. Like it looks like tree, like brush growing up the back of their like carapace.
Well, let me know how your collection goes, Alex, if you get 20 of these.
I will let you know. I'll keep you updated.
I like the little Metroid guys, although I don't know what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I have no idea.
You could probably paint that up as a good little Spore Mine proxy, though.
You could. See, there you go. It comes with them. You have your strains. You'll have Spore Mines. I mean, it's
I
everything
can
you
bring
need.
those up and we don't erupt into arguments because Will's not here today.
It is the best model in the Tyranid Index. Or Tyranid Codex.
Yeah.
Free actions? Sure, I'll take those.
Yeah, why not? 75 points and I can max out a secondary for fun.
Do we need to slam the desk just to feel like Will's around?
Yeah, wait, it's one of our, recording rituals, but somebody will have to fill in for Will since he's not here.
Talk about how orcs suck, and these models are great, and orcs need buffs, but they're horrible, but they're overpowered, but they need buffs.
And whichever army got nerfed this week, well, I guess you guys are just going to have to learn how to play the game.
So I think that's it for reveals this week. I did skip over the Titanica stuff because it's a neuro book. It's whatever.
Oh, yeah. A book isn't... We're here for the plastic, man. Oh, the Chaos stuff.
Yeah, the Sunday preview.
I know we've already looked at it because it's the same models that we showed before, but these models look great. I'm going to buy these for sure.
Epibrexia Varan Spear, it is a cool model. I don't play Slaves to Darkness, but they're all cool models.
Yeah, that's one I'm curious if they're going to cap us hard on those or not. I'll find out on like Thursday and make a post about it, maybe Friday. But that Abraxia is a very cool model that a lot of people are going to want to get.
Did they cap y'all with the other book, boxes that came out?
It's just hit or miss on those ones where sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. A lot of times when it's a new character and they know that they're going to release it separately later on, they don't produce a ton of the starter box version, because if they make too many of them, then when they come out separately, just no one is going to buy it and it's just going to sit on shelves. So it wouldn't surprise me if they cap that one.
Then you have the Oathbound coming in, plus a lot of the Dark Oath stuff is coming out separate kits.
I love this model. The Chieftain on Warsteed, like all his little heads and stuff like that.
The Wilderfiend's a really good model.
Yeah, that one's really, really good in the game too.
He's almost big enough to be a Demon Prince. And it's hard to tell based on without another model for scale.
Yeah, and it doesn't say what the base size is. I'd have to look at the release box.
I think it'd be close. Slap some wings on there, call it a day.
I just run the Demon Prince without wings. Does anybody actually run a winged Demon Prince these days?
In Sigmar, that's most people run them with wings.
Yeah, I think that GW got sick of everyone's running Demon Princes with wings at 9, so they made the foot-slogging versions do some cool stuff to balance it out.
Dark Oath Fell Riders, also very cool kits. I like the horses.
Yeah, if you have all your Beasts of Chaos that went to Legends, this is what you're going to be running them as, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think that's the easiest transition over.
And then this terrain piece, which is a very cool looking terrain piece, the Nexus Chaotica.
It is a very cool piece of terrain, although I'm not a fan of the faction-specific terrain thing. Because like the Gloomspite get one right now, at least for a while, it was like super cracked, right? Jordan, you'd be the...
Yeah, so all the faction terrain, like, you are allowed to be wrong. The faction terrain is awesome, and it does all sorts of awesome things. That's very, like, thematic and fun. For the Gloomspite gets, the one downside to faction terrain is the Loon Shrine, all of them are free, like, points-wise to bring. So, like, if you're going to play this army, you bring the terrain faction piece. And for the Loon Shrine specifically, it was awesome, very good, and you just couldn't buy it. The GW web store, it was a web store only item, and we're talking, like, since the book came out to, like, just now they restocked, like, last week for the first time. So, like, everyone who played this army, you either already had one or you just couldn't get one, and so you couldn't play at a high level because you couldn't get this piece. People started just, like, making proxies and stuff because you gotta play, but if you're gonna make something good, make it available.
I don't like the faction-specific terrain unless I can get one of those and it's good, and then I like it.
I think you're in luck, man. I'm feeling good on that one.
If I'm on the same playing field as everyone else, I'm fine. But like,
are they going to make faction terrain cost points in 4th edition, though?
No, they said it's free.
Because it's just free to bring now, right? It's still free?
Yeah, and like the Skaven one, we've got gnaw holes. We used to set up like 3 of these like teleport holes on the edges of the battlefield, and we could teleport to and from. And so they changed it up where you start with one on the board, and then at the start of each battle round, you get to summon in another one anywhere on the board, and then like your rats can deep strike out of it and stuff. So very cool thematically. It will be a very fun tool to use in games. So I'm A++ on the faction terrain.
oh yeah, that's a cool interaction too.
Yeah.
Need me a
And
bone-tied Nexus.
they did introduce for 4th edition that the faction terrain is going to have health points now. You used to be able to like run a monster over to it and do a special action to like blow it up. But now they're just going to have regular like saves and hit points. If that faction training piece is really good and annoying and doing bad things to you, you can go run one of your units over there and just kill it. So counterplay is fun. That's a good mechanic.
Well, I'm more on board now. The more you're talking, the more on board I become.
Yeah, 4th edition. It's going to be great, guys.
I am a fan of them actually showing terrain bits for the deployments or the layouts now, which is nice to have.
Yeah, official terrain maps, that's going to be excellent for tournament play. Just, again, making everybody use the same layout, like that there's a standardized, like this is what it should be, is going to make TO's life everywhere a lot better.
And some of the terrain can move.
Yeah, these ones are the endless spells that your wizards can summon in. And so this one's a little bit of a controversial one where everybody likes that it has wounds and hit points. That like if you don't have a wizard, like your guy can go over there with a big axe and just chop it down. Everybody's on board for that. But they're making these, they used to cost points to bring them in. And now you just get to choose one manifestation lore and you'll get to bring one group of them, like 3 or 4 different spells for free. And so tactically, very cool. You're going to have these options available to you, but like they're kind of forcing your hand, like, hey, whichever one of these are good, like this is something you're going to have to buy in order to play at like the maximum level, because if they're free, everyone's going to bring them.
Yeah, because if there's no downside, why would you not?
Yeah.
Unless you're playing Khorne where you don't have any wizards.
Yeah, they've got invocations, which are little prayer ones that are just the same thing, so they'll pick that one for sure.
They thought Kron's Mind is just its own.
Yeah, nobody knows how that's going to work. Like, he was a like 400 point monster dude who was just crushing everybody. So like now he's a free endless spell. Like, how does that work? Things have got to change.
So are they going to make endless spells like available on the store again though? That's the question, right?
They did come in stock. I ordered a bunch of boxes. Like we've got a good stock of them for a while. So if you need some, we got you right now.
Yeah, there you go, Mason. Let's go.
All right, I'll probably pick up. Well, I want to look for the rules now if I can take any of these, because I think these were the ones that like the Suffocating Gravetide, the Snow Snare Shackles. Those were the Slaves of Darkness ones, I think.
No, these ones that we're seeing, these are all universal generic ones. There was 2 boxes. One was called Malign Sorcery, which has like these 4 that are on there now. And then there was another one called Forbidden Power, which is the one to the left with like the little bridge. And so the Malign Sorcery one has like 20 different spells in the box. That's like probably the better one to get right now with things being unknown. Then the Forbidden Power one, those 4 are in their own separate kit where you could play the wait and see like, is that group the winning group? Because again, where we go to options like, okay, there's 6 different groups here to choose from. It's going to pan out where there's 1 or 2 good ones, and that's what everybody's going to do.
I love how this one's just like Nagash's head.
Yeah. And that one, it used to interact with bravery. It would make extra models flee when you failed a bravery check. But now for 4th edition, bravery is gone. There is no more battle shock. All of that does not exist. So that spell is going to have to do something completely different. And a lot of models in the game used to interact with bravery. So we're all curious to see what are they introducing to replace that abilities for those units that used to do it. They need to get some kind of perk to make up for it.
So this does... I'm going a little bit off tangent here, so I apologize, but this does bring up a question as a retailer, as a host that hosts tournaments and GTs and whatnot. How do you feel about 3D printing?
So for me, it's a little bit complicated one. 3D printing, I think, is really cool. I have a FDM printer. I've got a resin printer. Like, I have dabbled, and I use them to like print terrain and stuff for the shop. And it's an excellent tool that most wargamers are going to enjoy using. Like, there's always, it's not just push a button and it prints out. Like, there's always things you're tinkering with and things you're messing with to get it right. And then the print's going to fail on you and you start over, and 48 hours later, you might get something cool. For wargaming specifically around our shop, our policy is for regular casual games, like bring in whatever you want, man. Like if you want to bring in poker chips and use those as models, like have a blast. We're having a good time. For our official tournaments, we want you to use GW models. And that's just at the end of the day, we have all of this play space. Everything is free to come and play. The only thing we do as a business is sell GW models. Like, we're not a comic book store. We're not a video game store. We are a Warhammer store. You walk in, that is the only thing we do is sell Warhammer. We sell bolt action, and we have like paints and stuff like that, some accessories. So the only way to support our store is to buy GW models and use GW models. So for official events, we do want you to use those. If there's an instance where, hey dude, like the Loon Shrine, hey Jordan, like I just couldn't get one. can I use this instead? I'm going to say yes. Like, I'm a reasonable person. Like, I know and keep tabs on everything, where I know if something is unobtainium, like, we're going to work with you and make it work. For Age of Sigmar specifically, I have all of the Age of Sigmar armies available, painted up, ready to go in the shop. And so we let people use those for demo armies or just for trying out different units before you buy them. So you can try it out, make sure you like that play style, and then go make your decision. So a lot of times for tournaments, if somebody can't get something like a Loon Shrine, like, hey, just use the shop's Loon Shrine here. And that way we're kind of trying to solve the issues as they come up. But if I didn't have it available, we would let you use it. And in general, 3D printing is cool. Lots of cool things you can do. The only bummer of 3D printing is I don't like when people are just doing complete like one-for-one ripoffs. GW, they do put a lot of time and effort and like pay these artists to develop these really cool models. And for people to just go print them out and like effectively steal them, while GW charges prices that some people may not agree with, like it is the wrong thing to do to go steal someone's intellectual property at large. Like for a while I was looking into getting some sculpts made up for Age of Sigmar Seraphon. They had a salamander model that was just awful, and so I started dabbling around like, hey, what do I need to get like this? I want to make a cool version of this model, and people will use it as a proxy and stuff. And so it was going to cost X amount of dollars to have it made, and it was too much for what I wanted to do at the time. But thinking about if I did do it, and then just if somebody ripped off the STL file and then went out and started printing 1 million of them, like it would make me feel bad. And so in the same way it would make me feel bad, I'm sure it would make GW feel bad in the same way.
Yeah, that's a fair take. I mean, that's kind of what I expected. I think it's cool that one, you have all the armies available in the store, so if someone needs something, you let them use it. That's actually really, really cool. And then again, if you can't find something, because I mean, there are a lot of hard to find kits out there that you just can't get, and punishing someone because they can't buy something definitely feels bad. So allowing them to use something at that point is, I think, a good compromise. Sorry to throw that one at you randomly. It just made me think of what we're talking about in the spells.
Oh no, you're all good, man. Yeah, that's when I get that one all the time. So no worries.
Other than that, I think we've talked about all the releases, everything new that's coming 4.0, some Spearhead talk. We'll have more stuff to talk about as time goes on and we get more information. I wanted to thank you, Jordan, for popping in, hanging out, and recording with us. It was a lot of fun. Go ahead and plug anything and everything you need to plug.
All right, yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. And yeah, just warpfireminis.com. That's all we do is sell models. So if you ever need models, check us out. And then I've got a YouTube channel too. We do Age of Sigmar content. If you want to learn how to play the rats, like I am your guy, I'm going to show you how to do it. And then for 4th edition, once I actually get my hands on the rule book, we'll probably do like a more in-depth, like how to play and like try and take you to the next level strategy-wise, to how to play at a high level.
So I know to bug you about Skaven because I've never touched Skaven before. So keep that in mind. You said it here.
Yeah, shoot me some messages, man. I will walk you through it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch all your 4th edition Skaven videos just so I know what Michael and Will are gonna try to throw at me, so I can try to counter it.
Well, I have other armies. I got cities. I have OBR. So I have Seraphon and boxes I need to build. So, I have other armies I can play. But that said, thanks everybody for listening. I hope you all enjoyed the episode. Please hit up Warpfire Minis at their website, buy from them, make them bigger and famous. So, at one point, maybe we can, work with them on something down the road. Get really big. I will continue to buy from them, though. But otherwise, thanks again. Email us at openplaypodcast@gmail.com. Join the Discord. It's always in the show notes. And again, Jordan, thanks a ton for hanging out and just being a voice of reason with Age of Sigmar. It's a side we don't delve into too much, but I want to get into more go forward.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. And now is the time. 4th edition, strike while the iron's hot. Get in there, guys.
All right, everybody, have a good night, have a good week, and have fun.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks for listening.